Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something most people never say out loud. Stop calling him baby, honey, sweetie, sugar plum, cupcake, or all that fluff. You think that's love? You think that's what's making a man stay, commit, grow, evolve, be yours forever? No, it's not the pet names that stick. It's the power behind the words you use that really hits a man deep in his soul. There's something people don't always realize when they use words like baby or honey. At first, those words feel sweet, affectionate, maybe even romantic. But over time, when they're used too often, too casually, and without real intention behind them, they start to lose their weight. They become filler words, background noise, just like the beep of a microwave or the buzz of a phone notification. It becomes part of the routine, part of the habit. And when something becomes a habit, it stops being special. That's exactly what happens when you constantly call someone baby or honey. Those words may have meant something in the beginning, but now they're like wallpaper. Always there, barely noticed. Think about it. When you first meet someone and they call you baby, it might send a little rush through you. It feels personal. It feels like they've claimed you in a way. But by the 100th time, it's just another word. It no longer surprises you, no longer makes you smile the same way. It becomes routine, and routine is the enemy of romance. When a word becomes routine, it no longer stirs emotion. It no longer carries the same depth. And that's the problem with pet names. They wear out fast if they aren't backed by meaningful connection and fresh intention. Now let's flip it. Imagine you're in a relationship and your partner always calls you baby. They say it when they're mad, when they're tired, when they're distracted. It's just become a default phrase. Now imagine they stop and suddenly say something different, something rare, something real, like, I admire the way you handled that. Suddenly you perk up, you pay attention. That's the difference. Real connection comes from deliberate, intentional words, not automatic responses. You see, words have power, but that power fades when we use them without thought. Honey doesn't hold the same weight if you've used it every day for the last year. It becomes more about habit than heart. You might still love the person, but your language isn't showing that. Your words aren't expressing that anymore. And in relationships, that's dangerous because over time, people stop feeling seen. They stop feeling appreciated. They feel like they're just going through the motions with someone who's emotionally checked out. And you don't want that. Not if you're serious about keeping love alive. This is especially true for men who crave something deeper than sweet words. Men are built to chase meaning. They might smile when you call them baby, but what they really need are words that challenge them, words that motivate them, words that remind them of their purpose. Baby doesn't do that. It doesn't inspire a man to grow. It doesn't speak to his core. It might comfort him for a moment, but it doesn't light a fire in him. What does? Language that reaches his identity. Language that respects his efforts. Language that says, I see what you do and I value it. The truth is, most pet names are too soft to make a lasting impact. They sound nice, but they don't stay with you. They're like candy, sweet, but with no substance. And in a relationship that's meant to go the distance, substance is everything. You need to feed each other emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. You can't do that with just cute names. You need words that carry weight. Words that make your partner stop in their tracks and really feel something. So the next time you open your mouth to say baby or honey, pause for a second. Ask yourself, am I saying this because I mean it or just because it's easy? Because I'm used to it? Because I don't know what else to say? If the answer is anything other than real intention, maybe it's time to change the way you speak. Maybe it's time to stop relying on overused pet names and start speaking with purpose. Because in the end, love isn't shown in the words that sound the sweetest. It's shown in the words that mean the most. There's a common mistake many people make when trying to connect with men emotionally. They assume that flattery, sweet compliments, charming phrases, or cute pet names is the way to a man's heart. They think calling him handsome, baby, or my king is going to unlock his soul. But that's not how it works, not for most real men. The truth is, men aren't deeply moved by surface-level flattery. It might stroke the ego for a moment, but it doesn't touch the heart. It doesn't break through the layers he's built from years of pressure, responsibility, and silence. If you want to reach a man's core, you've got to speak to something deeper, something real. Because what men crave isn't just attention, it's meaning. A lot of men grow up in environments where emotional expression isn't encouraged. They're told to toughen up, be strong, stay silent. Over time, they begin to build walls, not because they don't feel, but because they're afraid to. They're afraid of being judged, misunderstood, or seen as weak. So when someone comes along and starts complimenting them without truly understanding who they are, it doesn't hit the mark. It feels generic. It feels empty. You can call him sexy all day long, but if you've never acknowledged his sacrifices, his battles, or his silent victories, those words won't stick. They'll float away like air. Men need to feel seen for what they do, what they fight for, and how they carry the weight of their world. It's not that they don't want to be complimented, it's that they want compliments that are anchored in truth. When you tell a man something meaningful, something that shows you've been paying attention, it opens a door inside him. It makes him feel safe, respected, and valued. Not just loved, but deeply appreciated. That's where the bond grows stronger. Take a man who's working 2 jobs to support his family. You think calling him baby is what's going to fill his heart? It won't. But if you look him in the eyes and say, I know how hard you're working, and I don't take it for granted, that hits different. That stays with him. Or consider the man who stays calm in chaos, the one who protects his people, the one who makes sacrifices and never asks for credit. Don't just tell him he looks good. Tell him you admire how he leads, how he shows up, how he stands firm even when things get rough. That kind of language doesn't just flatter, it elevates. There's power in being specific. When you notice the little things he does and you name them, it creates intimacy. It shows you're not just seeing his appearance, but his effort, his character, his heart. Men crave that more than they admit. They're just not always used to receiving it because so many people stay on the surface. They say what sounds nice but never dig deeper. But when you speak with purpose, when you choose your words with thought and honesty, a man notices. He may not show it with tears or big emotional displays, but you'll see it in the way he starts to open up, the way he begins to trust, the way he begins to invest in you on a whole new level. Empty flattery doesn't build a relationship, it builds a fantasy. And when the real challenges of life hit, fantasy falls apart. But meaningful words, those build foundations. They help a man believe in himself again. They remind him that he's not invisible, that someone sees what he does, that someone believes in who he is. And once a man feels that kind of connection, he won't want to lose it. He'll protect it. He'll value it. He'll grow with it because finally someone spoke to him in a way that mattered. Not to impress him, not to manipulate him, but to truly understand him. And for most men, that kind of language is rare and unforgettable. When it comes to building a connection that actually lasts, authenticity is everything. Too often, people enter relationships trying to perform, trying to impress, trying to act like someone they think the other person wants. They put on a voice, a personality, a charm that doesn't reflect who they really are. At first, it might work. It might catch attention. It might spark something. But with time, the truth always shows. Pretending isn't sustainable. If you're not showing up as your real self, you're just creating a version of love that's built on illusion. And no matter how strong the chemistry feels in the beginning, illusions always fade. Real love, real connection is only possible when both people are being real with each other. Now let's talk about men. A lot of women think the way to keep a man is to play games, to act mysterious, to be hard to get, to never let him see her vulnerable. But let me tell you, what really grabs a man's heart is emotional depth. That moment when you let your guard down, when you speak from your soul instead of your ego, when you stop trying to impress and start trying to connect. That's when he truly sees you. That's when something clicks in his mind and heart. Because while attraction might pull him in, it's authenticity that makes him stay. We live in a world where filters and fake personas are everywhere. Social media is filled with people pretending to live perfect lives, saying perfect things, posting perfect pictures, and in real life, many have started to mirror that same energy, hiding pain, hiding truth, afraid of being too much or not enough. But in relationships, that kind of surface level interaction gets exhausting. Nobody wants to feel like they're dating an actor. They want someone they can be safe with, someone who shows up fully, honestly, and without the mask. When you bring authenticity into your relationship, you're not just making yourself known, you're giving the other person permission to do the same. A man may walk around all day guarded, acting tough, staying silent, because he's learned not to show emotion. But when he's around a woman who's not afraid to be real, who speaks from the heart, who's honest about her feelings without playing games, that breaks his walls down. That makes him feel something different. That opens a door he might have kept shut for years, because authenticity is rare, and when people see it, they're drawn to it. Emotional depth is not about being dramatic or overly intense. It's about being present. It's about listening, caring, and expressing what you feel in a way that comes from truth, not performance. If you're upset, say it with clarity, not manipulation. If you admire something he did, express it with sincerity, not just flattery. Don't be afraid to ask meaningful questions. Don't be afraid to talk about purpose, struggle, faith, fears, or dreams. That's where emotional depth lives, in the conversations that matter, in the moments where hearts meet beyond the surface. A lot of women wonder why men sometimes lose interest. They blame it on the man being afraid of commitment or not being ready. But sometimes it's because there was no real emotional hook. There was attraction, there was charm, but there was no soul, no honesty, nothing that made him feel like this woman truly sees him and lets herself be seen. And that's the missing piece. Men aren't looking for someone who's perfect. They're looking for someone who's real, someone who doesn't hide behind pet names or smiles, but who can hold a real conversation and share her truth without shame. When you strip away all the pretending and speak from a place of emotional clarity, you give a man something he rarely experiences in his day-to-day life: genuine connection. And that's something he won't forget, because the world may applaud his success, admire his strength, or be impressed by what he owns. But the woman who sees his soul, who speaks to him with depth and truth, that's the woman who stays in his heart. However, there's something deep inside every man that many people overlook, and that is the desire to feel respected. Not just liked, not just loved, but truly respected. You see, love feels good and affection feels nice, but respect, that speaks to a man's identity. It speaks to his sense of worth, to his place in the world, and to how he views himself in the eyes of the person he cares about. Respect tells a man that you not only care for him, but you value who he is, what he stands for, and how he moves through life. And when a man feels respected, you activate something powerful inside of him, something that changes the way he looks at you. Most people don't realize this, but for men, respect is not optional. It's not a bonus. It's essential. It's a foundation. If a man feels disrespected, even in subtle ways, it chips away at the connection. It creates distance. It builds walls. But when he feels respected, when your words reflect admiration, when your tone reflects belief in him, when your presence speaks support, that man will move mountains for you, because now he feels safe, he feels honored, he feels like he's in a partnership, not a performance. And the key to unlocking that level of respect isn't grand gestures or dramatic speeches. It's in the daily words you choose. It's in how you speak to him when no one's watching. It's in the way you respond when he's vulnerable, when he shares something difficult, when he admits failure or uncertainty. You don't have to agree with everything he says or does. Respect isn't about blind approval. It's about seeing his effort, his intention, and his humanity, and choosing to value that, choosing to speak in a way that lifts him rather than tears him down. There's something remarkable that happens when a woman looks a man in the eye and tells him, "I respect how you handled that." Those words aren't just nice. They're transformative. They settle deep into a man's heart. They tell him that someone noticed what he did, that someone sees more than just the surface. They say, "You matter. Your choices matter. Your leadership matters." And for a man who may be silently carrying the weight of expectations, criticism, or self-doubt, those few words can bring peace, confidence, and renewed strength. Respect is shown when you celebrate his discipline, not just his success. When you appreciate his effort even when things don't go as planned. When you trust his judgment and let him know that you believe in his ability to figure things out. That doesn't mean you can't have your own voice or opinion. It means you express those things with grace, with intention, and with the kind of energy that says, "We're a team, and I value what you bring to the table." It's easy to say baby or honey without thinking, but those words don't always carry the meaning that men need to hear. They're sweet, yes, but they're not necessarily affirming. They don't always reflect deep understanding. The right words, the ones that speak to his inner desire to feel respected, those are the words that stick. Those are the words that separate a temporary spark from a lasting bond. Even in conflict, respect changes everything. You can disagree without disrespecting. You can challenge him without belittling him. You can be honest without being harsh. And when a man sees that you care enough to honor him, even when emotions run high, his trust in you grows. His willingness to be open with you expands. Because at the end of the day, a man doesn't just want to feel loved. He wants to feel like he's your man, like he's your protector, your partner, your provider in more ways than just money. And when he hears from you in simple, genuine words that you respect him, he feels like he's exactly where he's supposed to be. That kind of security can't be bought. It's earned through real communication, real appreciation, and real. When people think about keeping a relationship alive, they often turn to surface level expressions. They think calling each other baby, honey, or sweetheart will keep the spark alive. They believe that if they keep the pet names flowing and exchange sweet texts, everything will stay warm and connected. But the truth is, those things are not what hold a relationship together when real life shows up. Strong relationships are not built on repeated phrases that sound nice. They are built on deep mutual understanding. The kind that doesn't need to be spoken to be felt. The kind that goes beyond labels and into the heart of who a person really is. Understanding is what makes two people feel safe with each other. It's what creates the space to be vulnerable, to be real, and to be accepted, even when you're not at your best. It means knowing what makes the other person feel seen, what makes them shut down, what brings them peace, and what pushes them over the edge. It's knowing when to speak and when to just listen. You can't get to that kind of connection just by calling each other cute names every day. That might bring a smile now and then, but it doesn't carry the weight of true emotional connection. It's understanding that holds a relationship steady when storms come, not empty words. When a man feels understood, he relaxes. He lets his guard down. He opens up in ways that even he didn't know he could. A man might smile when you call him baby, but he will remember forever the moment you understood his silence. He will never forget the moment you didn't judge his frustration but saw the pain underneath. Understanding is when you learn how he handles stress, how he reacts to pressure, how he processes loss or failure. And once you know those things, you respond in ways that show love in its truest form. Not in catchy phrases, but in thoughtful actions and words that actually matter. It's the same for you too. You don't want a man who just compliments your looks or throws pet names around because it sounds cute. You want someone who understands when you're overwhelmed just by hearing the tone in your voice. Someone who recognizes when you're quiet, it doesn't mean you're fine, it means you're carrying something heavy. That kind of emotional intelligence doesn't come from surface level flirting. It comes from being present, from paying attention, from asking real questions and listening with the heart, not just the ears. People often mistake affection for connection, but you can show a lot of affection and still feel completely alone in a relationship if you're not understood. You can be told I love you 100 times and still feel distant because the person saying it doesn't really see you. That's why true connection is rare. It takes effort, it takes patience, it takes time, but it's worth every moment because it builds something unshakable. Understanding creates a foundation where both people can grow. It allows space for mistakes, for healing, and for learning each other's triggers and strengths. It builds trust that doesn't fade when someone forgets to say, I love you one day, or when pet names aren't used as much. Trust built on understanding survives silence, survives conflict, survives the ups and downs, because it's not based on shallow routines, it's built on deep emotional awareness. So while it's okay to use sweet words now and then, never depend on them to carry the relationship. Let them be the icing, not the cake. The real connection comes when you take the time to know who your partner truly is, what they need emotionally, what they fear, what they hope for, and how they handle the hard days. When you build your relationship on that level of understanding, you won't have to constantly prove your love through words. It will be felt through presence, through effort, and through the unshakable truth that comes from being fully known and still fully accepted. That's the kind of bond no nickname can replace. There's a moment in every relationship when words become more than just sounds, they become power. And one of the most powerful things you can ever say to a man, more than I love you, more than I miss you, more than any nickname or flirty phrase, is I respect you. Those three words have the ability to shift the energy between two people. They carry a weight that penetrates deeper than affection or attraction, because at his core, a man doesn't just want to be loved, he wants to be respected. Love is important, yes, but respect is what affirms him. It's what anchors him. It's what tells him that who he is and what he brings into the world is genuinely valued. When you look a man in the eyes and say, I respect you, you're not just speaking, you're affirming something in him that may have gone unnoticed for years. You're acknowledging the way he leads, the way he handles responsibility, the way he shows up even when he's tired, uncertain, or under pressure. You're saying, I see you. I understand what you do and why you do it. I may not say it every day, but I notice and I value it. That kind of affirmation goes far beyond praise. It becomes part of his identity. It strengthens him in places even he didn't know were weak. Too many men walk around feeling like they have to prove themselves constantly at work, in society, in relationships. They're always being measured. So when they come home, the one place they hope to feel safe, the one person they want to let their guard down with, is the woman they love. And when she says, I respect you, that becomes his safe space. It tells him he doesn't have to perform. He doesn't have to be perfect. He just has to be himself, and that's enough. Those three words, spoken with sincerity, have the power to soften a hardened heart and open doors to emotional connection that no amount of flirting or compliments could unlock. It's easy to say nice things to someone. You look good. You're amazing. You're my king. Those words might feel good in the moment, but they often fade fast if they're not rooted in something deeper. Respect, on the other hand, sticks. It's not based on how he looks or what he gives. It's based on who he is. When a man hears, I respect you, he hears, I believe in your character. I trust your judgment. I admire how you carry yourself. That's a message he doesn't hear every day, and it means more than most people realize. Respect isn't just about words. It's about tone, timing, and intention. It's about when you choose to say it and how you deliver it. Maybe he just solved a problem you've both been stressing over. Maybe he handled a difficult situation with grace. Maybe he stayed calm when others didn't. That's the moment to look him in the eye and let him know. Say it clear, say it real. I respect how you handled that. It doesn't need to be dramatic, just honest. Because when those words come from your heart, he'll feel it in his. The amazing thing is how a man responds to that. His energy changes. He stands a little taller. He's more open, more vulnerable, more connected. It's like a signal telling him he's safe, he's valued, he's not alone in what he's carrying. And once a man knows he's respected by the woman he loves, he'll go above and beyond for her, not out of obligation, but out of devotion, out of appreciation, out of the simple fact that he feels honored by her presence. So don't underestimate the power of those three words. Say them when they matter most. Say them when he's not expecting it. Say them when the world might be doubting him, and you'll watch his confidence return. Because in a world where men are often criticized, overlooked, or misunderstood, hearing, "I respect you," can be the very thing that restores his strength and deepens the bond between you.